On today's show, is there enough hype for Cooper Flagg? Like, do Mavericks fans actually understand who Cooper Flagg is and how much he's going to bring to this franchise? And where does the cultural identity from the Mavericks come from right now? I answer that question and more in today's Locked On Mavs. Stop it! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Joining me on the show, friend of this show, all things Mavs on Twitter, all things NBA, all things Thunder, bunch of different all things, lots of things. Jimmy Crowther, what you got for me?
What is up, Nick? I got a little summer league action. We got the LA summer league, the Utah summer league, but the Vegas summer league practice starts this week. We're going to get some clips of Cooper Flagg scrimmaging in a Dallas Maverick something kind of jersey this week. And then
practice
on
as
Thursday.
early as Tuesday. I'm going to go to practice, and so we'll see what happens with it.
You're going to practice?
We'll see if we get a Cooper Flagg sighting there. That'll be Tuesday morning. If you're listening to this, watching this, it may have already happened. And so, yeah, I'm fascinated to see, and I'm ready to see Cooper Flagg. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Cooper Flagg, what the hype is around it. And I want to talk about Mavs Fandom with Jimmy, because I think he is somebody that knows Mavs Fandom better than maybe anybody out there, running a huge Mavs fan page, having been a Mavs fan for a long time, interacting with a lot of Mavs fans. I want to talk about how much does ownership affect fandom and how much does it change? What is changing from going from one owner to another? And then where does the cultural identity come from the Mavericks right now? With Dirk not wanting anything to do with the Mavs, with Mark Cuban gone, with Luka gone, like what? Who is in charge of that now? So we'll talk about it. A lot of good stuff like that today I want to get into. But let's start with this. Are you finding that fans are coming back now because of Cooper Flagg? Because I've seen that a little bit here and there, but are you finding, maybe even yourself, are you more back in? Or are you hearing people that are more back in because now the Mavs have Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, I always look at the Mavs and really the NBA. Not always. I've started to shift and look at it through the lens of my father, who is not on any social media and doesn't know anything about the Mavs, or doesn't know anything about like the inner workings of all this drama that's going on. But when I call him and he's like, I heard we got this Cooper Flagg guy that's going to be better than LeBron James. I'm like, there you go. That's how people get back in, because these people that have tuned out because of all the drama that happened in February are coming back because the Mavs are back in the headlines for good reasons. And so I think they've reeled a lot of the so-called casual fans back in, and even the ones that were super, super invested that might have taken a step back are at least dipping their toes back in the water to be like, wait, what would it be like if I bought back in and bought into this new 18-year-old? But maybe you still have some guardrails up of just how much you're trusting this franchise to, take care of this next superstar.
It is an interesting thing because Mavs fans are so passionate. They love the team so much. And to have that trade happen took so many fans out of it, just completely. I mean, they literally had a protest that was intense and that people were very mad about. And I've told this story before. I'll tell it again because I think it's very funny. Our friend, the Chicken Man, who dresses up like a chicken and shows up to Mavs games and Wings games and stuff. I saw him at a Wings game. And I knew that he was at the front of the line for the Mavs protest. He's in all the pictures and like all the, stock photos and everything that are out there about the Mavs protest. And I was like, it was after the lottery. And I go, hey man, you back in? And he kind of like dips his head. And then he goes, yeah, I'm back in, like sighs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame him. I don't blame anybody for being upset with the Mavericks and then coming back because of Cooper Flagg, because he is that good. He's going to set this new era for the Mavericks. But is there enough hype for Cooper Flagg right now? Because of the level of prospect that the Mavericks are about to get, I don't know. It feels like it was exciting for a little bit, and then maybe it's just the culture that we're in where we move on from stuff real fast. But I don't think that Mavs have really, like, it is kind of a LeBron James level player that the Mavericks are getting as far as a prospect.
I mean, I think in terms of hype, you can somewhat measure it on, look at the brand deals this guy has.
Yeah.
I mean, coming out of the draft, he had a commercial or an ad with every single company you can imagine, and that kind of stuff. Like we just haven't really seen that. Like even Luka coming in as the third overall draft pick, like he was a little bit of an unknown compared to what Cooper Flagg is. Like this U.S. born, American superstar. He's been in the spotlight in the U.S. because of how good Duke was. Like it was hyped up around the country, and I don't think there's enough hype in Dallas around it because I'm not sure there could be enough. Like I don't think there's anything they could do because that's how good I think he is and how good he's going to be. I mean, he's just dominated at every level, and there's no reason to believe he's not going to be a star at this next level. It's kind of felt like a little bit of like, okay, the Mavs have, they're going to have a full year of Anthony Davis next year. They're going to get Kyrie Irving back come playoff time. Fingers crossed. They've added D'Angelo Russell, and we'll see what happens to this team. And oh yeah, they also got the number one draft pick, which was solid. But it's like it's not just a throw in. Like even he is as ready as a prospect can be outside of Victor Wembanyama. I'll always kind of make the asterisk with Wembanyama, but no, I don't think there is enough hype. But I think the second he takes, puts a foot on the floor in a real Mavericks jersey and makes that first play, it's gonna hype itself up pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the draft watch party that people were at, and all I think they sell like 3,000 Flag jerseys or something like that. Like they were printing them in arena, which the Wings you're wearing the Paige Becker shirt right now. The Wings already had those printed, so I don't know the difference between the NBA and the WNBA, but the Wings had all that merch printed already. They had these shirts like with the Paige Beckers, like 5. That I'm holding up, they had those already printed. Like the WNBA had all that stuff ready to go, and the Mavs were like printing. So I don't know what the difference is with that. If there's different rules or if there's tampering, I don't know what it would be. I thought that was funny. The difference between that. I think you're right though that there can't be enough hype for a guy like Cooper Flagg because he's just that good. And so many. Think about all the teams that tanked for him this year and that were hoping, just praying, and go look at our live stream that we did and look at David Locke's face and how upset he was that the Mavs got the number one pick and the Jazz didn't. And that'll tell you enough about how good of a prospect he is.
They got Kevin Love. The Utah Jazz got Kevin Love, who just looks like an older version of Cooper Flagg. So maybe there's some parallels there. No, but I think when you compare it to if the Mavs have gotten the number one draft pick last year, let's say, and gotten a Zachary Risache, if they would have taken him or an Alexander Sarr, like that would have been like okay, we're going to add this guy and see what happens kind of thing. But this is add this guy and success is going to follow some way, somehow. Like, I know we'll talk about ownership, but like ownership gets bailed out because they're going to sell a lot more tickets. They're going to sell all kinds of merchandise. They're going to have all kinds of brand deals rolling in because of Cooper Flagg. The fans get to buy back in because this is a guy that is going to come in and make those high energy plays, but not just that, but affect winning in all kinds of ways. And, yeah, I think just the year that it's happened and behind everything that's happened, adding him in, you just can't talk about it enough. And I'm just so ready to stop talking about it and actually watch it happen. Watch something happen on Thursday. It's gonna be life changing watching him take the court.
There was an interesting phenomenon in our YouTube comment section. Maybe this says more about how different and diverse fandom is right now. In our YouTube comment section, there was people that were like, after a week or two, and we talked about Cooper Flagg every day because that's what you're supposed to do, and that's what people want to hear. All our Cooper Flagg episodes were way more listened to than any other thing that we did, and they were like, "Can we move on? Can we talk about something different? Do we have to talk about this guy every day?" And I was like, "Really? Like you get this thing dropped in your lap, and you guys are already done with it? Like, are you ready to move on?" And yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think it will. I think you're right about the fact that let's see it happen and let's see him do some hype stuff and not just stuff at Duke, but in a Mavericks jersey, and have that be the thing that people are rallying around it and start to see it and start to really grasp, oh my God, this guy is going to be a Dallas Maverick, because it doesn't feel real. Maybe that's the thing, is it's so absurd of a thing that it still just doesn't even feel real. Even though like you're wearing the Mavs draft hat, like he walked across the stage. I watched him. I was there with my eyes. I saw him go pick up that hat from the little podium, walk over to Adam Silver, put the hat on, and then like put his arm around him and take all the pictures. And then we talked to him after. Like, even though that happened, it still just doesn't even feel real yet.
I think part of it too is like he's such a basketball sicko that off the court, he's just like not the most exciting interview in the world. And he's not giving you like all this juice of like, gosh, I'm so ready to be in Dallas. I'm
We're
so
gonna
ready to
win
be
a
a Dallas
title.
Maverick.
Yeah.
He's coming in and he's just going to play basketball. He's going to put on whatever jersey he needs to put on and hoop for the team that he's playing for. And good for him. I think that's what it is. But that kind of holds back a little bit of like how much we can buy into him until he plays, because like he's all about basketball. That's all he's about. He doesn't listen to music. He talked about his favorite music. He said he doesn't take the aux because he doesn't have a favorite song. It's like, bro,
He doesn't.
like the dude is just sitting there watching tape and thinking about basketball all the time. And so the excitement's going to come when he's on the floor, because off the floor he's just not given the funny, lively interviews that like Dereck Lively when he came in, he was
Yeah.
like a chatterbox, ready to talk, just an enigma. Even Omax Prosper was the same way, and that's just not who Flag is, and that's fine. We'll just watch him hoop.
He did have a favorite Harry Potter book that him and his mom were going back and forth about during that one interview. So it's not like he's just a complete robot. He is cultured in some ways. In some ways. Coming up, I want to talk about how ownership affects fandom now. How does it change going from Mark Cuban to now the Dumonts, the Adelsons? How has fandom changed for everybody? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Summer sports are in full swing, whether you're all in for baseball under the lights, if the roof is closed. I follow that account for the Rangers, if the roof is closed or not, and I don't even go to that many games. I just think it's funny to know if the roof is closed or not. You can do all kinds of stuff on FanDuel. Speaking of baseball, I don't even know where the Rangers are, to be honest, in anything. World Series odds? None? Do they have none odds? None odds. Okay, well, there are all kinds of stuff on FanDuel. You can go check it out. I guess they'd have win totals. You can go see what they had. Texas Rangers win totals over or under 79.5 right now is the number. So if you feel real strongly about one of those two, go put down $5. If you win, you get $150 in bonus bets to use on anything else. Go check out FanDuel, see what else you can do. Open the FanDuel app or visit FanDuel.com to get started today.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have our text line. I will be going to Vegas on Wednesday night, going for the first two games, and I'm going to be hanging out with a bunch of people, probably talking to a lot of people, and so you'll want to subscribe to that text line. I'll send you pictures. I'll send you of Mavs stuff. I'll send you pictures of Mavs stuff, not Vegas stuff. I'll send you rumors, anything that I hear or read, anything like that. 214-643-8637 if you want to text me and Isaac and get all those alerts right to your phone. Subscribe to that, and it helps support the show. All right, I'm here with Jimmy Crowther. He runs the great All Things Mavs Twitter account that is just one of the biggest Mavs fan accounts that there is out there. The best one in my book, but one of the biggest. I gotta say, gotta clarify that.
Thank you, Nick.
How much does ownership change fandom? I think we've gotten so used, especially guys like people our age that are Mavs fans, gotten so used to Cuban and kind of maybe only know Cuban as the owner of the Mavericks. Obviously, you had Don Carter before that, and you had Ross Perot, and you had all kinds of different like older Mavericks fans will say, well, we knew the time before Cuban and all this, but how has an ownership change changed and affected fandom, do you think? Has your trust of the team changed? Has anything, and it's all clouded by the Luka trade right now, but how has that changed for you?
Yeah, it's always going to be clouded by February, the trade. I mean, it's always going to be clouded by it, unfortunately. And I think a lot of Mavs fans that have followed me or people that know me, like I have always taken the eternal optimist view. And that was one of the hardest times to try to do that. I mean, it was impossible, honestly. And I tweeted something out like the day of the trade. I was like, I'm going to do one big emotional post and I'm just going to talk about it right now. And during that trade, I said something along the lines of like, for the first time, I'm realizing that these millionaires, billionaires don't really care about me, the fan, the person, like as a person. And like, that's just something I had to be like, okay, that's a big shift, because Mark Cuban, you felt like you were connected to the guy because he was us or is us in terms of being a fan. Obviously, he is on another universe when it comes to just being a social person because of how much money he makes. But as a fan, he was a fan way before he was an owner. That's why he became an owner. And so you got to see that play out and see that with him, where it was like, okay, he really is invested with us. Whereas the people in there now who I really like don't care about, honestly, like I don't care who's owning the team now. because they don't care about us as fans. They just don't. Like they're there to make money and they're there to make the team moves for the team and do what's going to put butts in the seats and sell merch and sell tickets. And you know what? That's their job. And I've kind of taken the stance. I think Slightly kind of has a similar stance where it's like, whatever. Like I can't change it now. It is what it is. And like I do think there's a lack of trust. Number one, because I don't know how much basketball these people know compared to Mark Cuban. Like I know
Yeah.
Mark Cuban was sitting there watching a lot of basketball. I know you said one time Patrick Dumont is a listener of the show, so I guess I should be a little more careful here. But in all seriousness, you just can't trust him as much. You just can't because the keys have been handed to Nico Harrison 100%. It's not a hand in hand like Cuban and Nico are working together. It's Nico's making the calls, and the owners are going to have no choice but to just say, yeah, go with it because you know more than we do. So it's kind of where I'm at, I think.
I tend to think that with owners in professional sports, it's better if you don't know that much about them and don't know and don't remember that, like, oh yeah, that's the owner of this team. Who's the owner of the Spurs? Like, I don't think I can even name him off the top of my head. The owner of the Celtics, I don't know that I could name off the top of my head. I get Wick Grossbeck, I guess was the guy. Now they've sold it obviously, but like you start going through the successful teams, and I don't know that. But then you think about James Dolan. You think about some of the some of the owners that we know across the league. Mark Cuban obviously had made a ton of. He's maybe the highest celebrity level of owner. Jeannie Buss. You start thinking through some of these owners. You're like, we know them for not great reasons sometimes, and so I think that's something with this ownership group. If they can avoid those kind of things where we start to know their name because of some bad things, and they've already not avoided it with the Luka trade. And I think that you're right where now this ownership group is coming in and has no idea about this fandom, this fandom, or about the culture of the Mavericks, or about any of that stuff. Like it was very obvious with the comments, the public comments that were made by Dumont, the lack of comments by Miriam Edelson at all. I guess she's not the governor, so she wouldn't make comments necessarily, but there's just, I mean, nothing. Like they're here sometimes. They're mostly not here. They're, like I'm right now. I think that if they have taken the keys away from Nico Harrison, where it's not 100% anything he wants to do, I think that would probably be a positive thing now. And I hope that they have learned that lesson after. You keep saying February. I think that's a funny way to put it. Like after February, we'll just keep referencing the month and not like the Luka trade or the AD.
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to be different now that owners are not fan firsts? Like we had a fan first owner with the Mavericks for so long with Mark Cuban. He's literally like sits the closest seat to the bench and he traveled with the team sometimes, and he's just a fan first. And now it's different. Now it's an investment for them, and that's a very different thing.
It is a different thing, and I go back to what I said almost at the start of like, if I talk to somebody who's not on social media, they really don't know the name Patrick Dumont or Miriam Adelson.
Right.
I mean, unless they're watching Fox News, they don't know that name very much, and so they're just like, I take that approach a little bit where I'm like, okay, if I wasn't constantly on social media as much as I am, maybe I wouldn't know about these people and I wouldn't really care about what's going on. I would still probably think that Mark Cuban is the owner. Like I think a lot of people do think that Mark Cuban is like still just the owner, and they don't really know about these other people. But I think something that's I've been thinking about a lot, and this also goes for Nico and all that stuff too, is like Cooper Flagg is a Nico Harrison, Patrick Dumont draft pick. Now, did they luck into it? Did they fall butt backwards into this draft pick? Absolutely they did, but it's still theirs, and they can still claim Cooper Flagg. So I only have a little bit more trust with them with Cooper Flagg because it's their guy, and they're going to want to hold on to him, and they're going to want to build around him because they can say that, oh, this was our guy. And so I think that's a little bit where my view of how their team is going to be run has shifted. And maybe I've tricked myself into trusting them a little bit more with this than the previous superstar that we were so lucky to have. But I don't think that's unreasonable. Like you look at how strongly they want to hold on to guys like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, because those were guys that they traded for, they being mainly Nico Harrison, but like that was their acquisition.
Yeah.
That was their acquisition. And so I think you start to look at that. I mean, everybody from the previous regime outside of Dwight Powell is cleaned out, like nobody left. And so everybody else was an addition by this leadership group. So that's kind of where I see this trending now is like they want it to be their moves, their team, their picks, all that stuff.
Well, it is now. And we've gotten to the point where the amount of turnover from even going back to like when just going back to the almost the like right before the season before the Western Conference Finals run in 2022, like everybody is different. Go back even farther than that, like when Luka got drafted, everybody is different. Like everybody on the team, Dwight Powell is the last that remains, but like coach, GM, ownership, like every single player except for Dwight Powell, basically like they're all different. And so, and even Dirk has stepped away from the franchise. In he didn't necessarily have a specific like a set role where he was coming in 9 to 5 every day, but now he doesn't want anything to do with the Mavericks, which just hurts I think every Mavericks fan's heart. Who now powers the public cultural identity of the Mavericks? We're going to answer that and more coming. All right, Jimmy, we're talking about Mavs fandom, a thing that you know very well. Haven't been a Mavs fan your whole life. All things Mavs is what you are, what you do. And we've been talking about ownership a little bit, and the change in ownership like highlighted the change in the entire organization, which everybody has changed. Going from coach, Donnie Nelson was there forever. He was a fixture, like the Nelson family, going back to Don Nelson, then to Donnie Nelson, and Rick Carlisle was there for the title and just for such a long time. And now everything's changed, like every single thing. So many people, like the CEO has changed multiple times now. The like people in the business side. You think about the front-facing people, like I guess Mark Followell is one of the Mark Followell is one of the last people left. But even Harper has been replaced by Devin Harris. Like there's just so much change. Even so much change has happened across this that now I start to look at. Okay, the public culture identity of the Mavericks came from Mark Cuban, because he was the loudest and he was, the most out there, the most famous person, I think, part of the Mavericks. Then I think for a little while, like Dirk really shaped it, where it's about loyalty and being there and the perfect title run and all that. Like there was a lot that came from Dirk. And then I think Luka kind of took it, and Mark Cuban also still had that. Like, and now I look at this team and I go, all right, who is shaping the public culture identity of the Mavericks right now?
It's a great question. I mean, I really don't have a perfect answer. I think a lot of it falls on Kyrie Irving, and that's tough because
that was the answer I came to as well.
It has to be, right? Like he's definitely the most vocal. He's the most out there with his, stream and the way that he talks to the media. He gives that. I mean, he'll sit there and talk to the media for an hour if he wants to. And I think that's a positive thing because he has a great rep. Like people like him, and he is just, I mean, done a complete 180. It feels like on where people stand on him and where the media stands on him in all the best ways. It's a little tough because he's already 32, 33 years old. So it's not like he's going to be able to build it for as long as a Luka Doncic could have, or as long as a Cooper Flagg will. But right now, it's got to be Kyrie Irving. And I think Anthony Davis could, because I do think, like, I mean, he has the prank show. He's like in the public eye. Like he enjoys that. He enjoys talking to the media. But unfortunately for Anthony Davis, like he's always going to be the guy that was traded for Luka Doncic. As much as I love AD, like I've tweeted this multiple times. I love that we have Anthony Davis. I don't love how we got Anthony Davis. That's just how it is. And so he doesn't have the ability or the opportunity that a Kyrie Irving does to continue to build a rapport with fans. And Kyrie's already cemented himself in Mavs history, in my opinion, just helping get this team to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011. Like he's just I love him to death. Like he is just an awesome guy, like just awesome to listen to and awesome to watch play. And as long as he can get back on the floor, which I think everybody expects him to get back on the floor, like he's going to be the guy that people are going to look to and say, that's the face of the Mavericks right now. That's just who it is.
Yeah, I think he has the voice for it, at least the positive voice for the Mavericks. And he was there for the finals run, which those players are getting slowly like getting removed as well. But I do think also if the answer is not Kyrie, it's Nico Harrison right now, because he's the one that's talked about the most. That decision is talked about the most. The comments, people talk about the vision. That comment was all over the place. I saw everybody talking about now you see the vision, that quote from Nico. Also, the fortune favors the bold comment was everywhere too. Between those two comments, which one made you more angry? You're getting red right now as I just quoted them back to you.
I saw a guy wearing a fortune favors the bold t-shirt in the gym, and I was about to ask him, I was like, is that a Nico Harrison? Like, is that for Nico Harrison? I realized that's just a common saying, but now it's Nico's saying, so I hate it. Definitely that one. Definitely that one was worse for me.
The fortune favors the bold. Man, that just what a quote. Just what a quote. And so I think that like whether Mavs fans want it or not, I think he shapes it because now the Mavs have this. Oh, he lucked into Cooper Flagg, and so now that luck is now on the Mavericks too, where they lucked into it just as much because of him. And so I think he kind of shapes some of it now too, at least what people are going to talk about when it comes to the Mavericks. The fact that Dirk doesn't want anything to do with the Mavericks right now.
Yeah.
Does that just eat at you, or is it one of those like, all right, he'll come back, it'll be all right?
I've got my Dirk bobblehead still on my desk, so he's always here. I know, I see it. You got all your Dirk stuff, man. It eats at me. It's so great. It's always going to eat at me. The fact, and I know you mentioned it too, like the fact that he made any kind of video for Cooper Flagg was so important to me. I just have like faith and trust that he's going to show up to at least a couple games and sit in the box and do his little wave up into the jumbotron. And I hope he does. I don't think it's ever going to be like he's a special advisor again or anything like that. And I don't expect him to. And I mean, he didn't need to do that in the first place. But now, especially not, because none of his, I mean, besides Jay Kidd, like none of his friends are there. So I don't expect him to. And I'll say this too. I think it's kind of a dual answer of like who they talk about with the Mavs, because Mavs fans, I think, are going to cling more to Kyrie and be like, that's our guy. But outside of like the Mavs fandom, it's going to be Nico Harrison. I mean, every tweet you see, like every stupid mock trade that involves the Mavs are like, well, Nico traded Luka, so like he's going to consider this trade. And it's like, it's just not how it is. But like for non-Mavs fans and maybe even casual fans, like Nico Harrison is the guy they're going to think of first with the Dallas Mavericks until Cooper Flagg comes into his own and is like a top 10, 15 player that we expect him to possibly be. And even then, I'm hoping Kyrie can help him find his voice a little bit in the NBA, and he can speak up a little bit more, and I think that'll be really helpful for how he can build his brand as a Dallas Maverick. So
you see it there. You see that was that scrimmage or the AAU game or whatever when he was playing against VJ Edgecombe, where he was like going at him like, you're not like that, you're not like that. Like you see it on the court, like he'll trash talk and he'll say stuff and he just won't, like, publicly, which sounds stupid because there's so many cameras on him when he's playing basketball, but like he just isn't like that. I think eventually he'll come out of his shell. It'll take a little while, and I think that draft night is just such a big moment. So many people are there. I swear there's like $1 million in cameras in that room because of how many local media. There's 4 TV sets in the room. And there's just so much. There's just lights everywhere. There's just so much stuff happening at once that I think it could be a little overwhelming at that point. And so I think he'd done so much media that day. It was wild watching him go through everything. I think his personality will come out eventually. The same thing we saw with Dirk. Yeah. Same thing we saw with Luka a little bit. We started to see that really come out. But the fact that Dirk is not part of the franchise, because he could be the one shaping the Mavs culture identity still. If he was still around the team, if he had made public comments about the trade, if he had been still an advisor to the front office and had been talking to them about it, and hopefully he probably would have stopped the trade. He probably would have stopped the trade if that was the case. Yeah. But he's not, and he's not part of it. And so now I think it's Kyrie because he's the biggest star, and then it's Nico Harrison because he's the one most associated with what the Mavericks did.
Yeah, and we'll have always done. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine. Can you imagine Nico going to Dirk and saying, "Hey, I think we're about to do this"? Like, Dirk's not Dirk doesn't show all the emotion in the world all the time. He can be pretty reserved. I mean, he might reach across the table and smack him in the face if that had happened. But I'm curious. Like, I wish I could know just how much he was advising on trades before that. Like, was he asked about the PJ trade? Was he asked about the Daniel Gafford trade? We've talked about it. I've talked about it a million times. Before February, I mean, Nico Harrison was on a generational run of making good moves, that Mavs fans approved of. And so I wonder if he was, and since then too, I think he's made great moves. Besides Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin. But still, I wonder how involved Dirk was in any of those moves leading up to that, because of how out of left field that came. I'd be curious, but I don't think we'll never know the answer, unfortunately.
I don't think we will either. If the Mavs win a title behind Cooper Flagg, but Nico Harrison is still the GM, how do fans respond?
I personally, I'll buy every piece of merch. I will go to the parade. I will stand in line at Academy at midnight to go in there and get my merchandise. I do not care. when Nico Harrison inevitably gets up on the podium after the Mavs win the championship
Yeah.
and talks, I'll turn on The Office or something for a couple minutes, and then I'll switch it back,
Not
and
even
I'll
mute.
go back.
Not even mute. You got to
No.
change the channel.
I can't watch. I won't be able to look at it because he'll have his smug little smile on. You know he will. I won't be able to do it. But I think fans will be all in. All in. And who knows? He talks about his timeline. He could be here for 3 more years, and the Mavs window with Cooper Flagg is who knows how long. So, no, I think fans will be back in again with Cooper Flagg, and they'll just always have. Would Nico Harrison be the first GM to be standing on stage with a championship trophy to get booed while holding that championship trophy by his own team?
If it happened in the next 2 or 3 years, I think absolutely.
I think so too. And I say, hey, go for it. I mean, go for it. Why not?
Wild. Mavs Fandom is in an interesting place right now. There's so many factions. There's so many, like, they had the Kyrie stands and the Luka stands, and now we have this. It's just a different coalition, I guess. I guess that's the only way I can put it. Is just of people that care about the Mavs or want to see the Mavs do bad, but they still follow them. It's like the Mavs-a-kiss that still want, they still follow the team, but they want them to not succeed because of the trade. There's so many different things, but go follow Jimmy if you're not already. If you're a Mavs fan, you probably are, at all_things_Mavs on Twitter, and all kinds of great stuff over there. Jimmy, thanks for the insight. Thanks for the Mavs Fandom takes.
Thanks for having me on. Mavs fans, come find me.
We will be back tomorrow, Slightly and I, talking more Dallas Mavericks stuff, and then I'll be previewing Summer League before I head out to go see the Dallas Mavericks. And so come back, stay wherever you're listening, watching this. Peace out. Boom.